Good morning. The Subcommittee on Retirement Protection, time is up for the start of the meeting, and the quorum is also fulfilled. Now we have to elect the chairman of the subcommittee. According to Article 22, as well as Appendix 4 to the House rules, we will now have to propose the candidate of the chairmanship. That has to be raised by one councillor and seconded and accepted by the members present. Mr. Kwok Wai Keung, is there any secondment? Mr. Kwok Wai Keung, do you accept this proposal? Do you have another candidacy proposal? Wait 3 seconds. 1, 2, 3. No. As there's no other proposals, Mr. Kwok Wai Keung would be the chairman of the subcommittee. Now I hand over the chairmanship. Good morning. Thank you. I would like to have your ideas on whether we need to have a deputy chairman. There are different views. So, for those who would like to elect a deputy chairman, raise your hands. Those who do not think it's necessary, raise your hands. So we would like to elect a deputy chairman. Nominations, Mr. Kwok Ka-Kay. Second, Mr. Cho. Mr. Kwok Ka-Wai, would you accept to be the deputy chairman? Yes. Mrs. Jiang Lei-Wan. Mr. Ng Wen-Ka. I nominate Mr. Ng Wen-Ka. Mr. Lu Wai-Kok second this proposal. Ng Wen-Ka, Mr. Wen-Ka also accepted this nomination. Any other nominations? Okay. 1, 2, 3. Time's up for nominations. We have now 2 nominations tabled. As we have 2 nominations, Mr. Kwok Ka-Kay and Mr. Ng Wen-Ka. So we will vote on it. So votes will be distributed together with a seal. Vote papers will be distributed. When you put your seal, when you vote on it, so you put the seal on it, and then when you have put your seal on it, we would collect the papers. Each of you will have to place your voting papers into the box. Before everybody has voted, none can leave their seats. Are all present have the voting paper? Number 1 is Mr. Kwakaki. Number 2 is Mr. Winka, Jimmy. That ends the distribution of voting papers. Distribution has been stopped. So would the Secretariat collect the papers now? I can see that the 2 candidates have already placed their ballot. Mr. Wan Xiuqin and Mrs. Zhang Leiwen, would you come up and be the tellers? Since you are the nominator, so please come up. So the counting of votes is started. Number two. For number 2. Number 1. 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 Number 2. Number 2. Number 2. Number 2. Number 2. 2. Number 1. Number 2. Number 2. Number 2. Number 2. Number 2. Number 1. Number 1. Number 2. Colleagues, we have distributed 28 ballots, and we have also collected 28 ballots. So you can see Mr. Kwakake obtained 11 votes, and Mr. Jimmy Nwinka obtained 17 votes. So Mr. Jimmy Ng will be the deputy chairman. Item 2 of the agenda, schedule of meetings and items for discussion. The Secretariat has given us 4 dates. We have to coordinate. Well, I can see that there's one meeting scheduled for Wednesday. We'll have to collaborate and consult each other. For the most recent meeting, it should be 16th of December, Friday, 10:45. December 16. There shouldn't be any problem. It's a Friday, 10:45. Can we have an earlier meeting? Maybe the secretary can look into it again. There is House meeting, a House committee meeting, and also the Finance Committee. Are you planning going away, Mr. Longhair?
討論事項嘅咁啊。
Items for discussion. The Housecom has already endorsed the terms of reference, and you may want to refer to the appendix. We have also got a background brief prepared by the Secretariat. Please take a look at paper CB bracket 2, 238/16-17 bracket 01. And so, members, please comment on the scope of topics. Well, it is not the first time that we visit this topic, but we haven't achieved any results. For the final report, it has been deferred time and again. It is said that mid-December, the COP will issue the report. So I think it is appropriate to conduct a public hearing on, say, the 19th of December. Other members? Yes, Mr. Kwong. I agree with what Mr. Wen has said. It is very, very important to get the public views. Well, we have to do this. And we did it in the past, and so we should carry on with the convention. I think we should try our best to build a consensus. I am Wan Xiaogin 3.0, so I agree, and I agree with him. What is important is that we should fix the meeting days early. We need to give early notice to the committee. We may need to have extra sessions, or we may have to extend the meeting time. In this case, we can be ready earlier. In case the feedback is very keen, then we should either schedule more sessions or we should have a longer meeting. Thank you for your constructive opinion. Dr. K.K. Kwok, it's best to fix a day early so as to facilitate the public attendance. I think you know that soon after the publication of the report by the administration, then we won't have much time left, and so it's better to schedule a public hearing as early as possible. And Jiang. I think the subcommittee should understand that longevity is getting longer and longer, and we don't just have to take care of the grassroots in terms of retirement protection. We need to look at the case of the middle class as well. So perhaps we should devote a hearing to that. Maybe the government can share the findings of their analysis. Yes, we'll try to take this up with the Bureau. Are there any other views? Mr. Liang Yu-zhong. When you organize a public hearing, try to allow for more time, especially provide more time to the deputations. 3 minutes each won't be adequate. If somebody doesn't have much to say, I'm sure he or she can give the time to some others. Thank you. In other views? The last time there was a consultation, we already hosted a large-scale public hearing. Of course, in the light of the final report, we'll have another public hearing. It depends on whether the report will be published in accordance with the schedule. It is a matter of concern to us, but we'll try our best to make the arrangements. Mr. Ho. At the Wednesday meeting last week, we had a non-legally binding motion carried in relation to the offsetting arrangements under the MPF scheme. So I want to know how that relates to our work and how we're going to take them together. We have already passed a non-legally binding motion. Now, for this subcommittee to talk about the way forward on the provision of retirement protection, I'm really concerned about the sort of effectiveness of our deliberation. Well, members' motions are always non-legally binding. It has been so, but we also hope that the administration will take our views, our motions seriously. Well, the report covers the offsetting arrangements and the scrapping of the offsetting arrangements. So the subcommittee will also cover the question of scrapping the offsetting arrangements. Of course, with the passing of the members' motion, maybe we can have a more in-depth deliberation. Mr. Wen, Chair, we talked about the public hearing, but I've omitted one point. I think whether the legislature of the community, we are all looking forward to the COP's report. So other than the public hearing, perhaps we should also have an agenda item to ask the administration to brief us on the findings of that consultation exercise. Mr. Kwong, same point. I think we are quite concerned about the public hearing. I think if we get a briefing from the administration, then it will be easier for us. Of course, we have been making arrangements with the Secretariat. We hope we will get a briefing ASAP. As to the details of the report, we can work on that later on. Let's get the broad direction first, so we'll liaise with the Bureau. Any other comments? If not, so at the next meeting, the department will be invited to give us a briefing. Without anything new, there isn't anything for us to have our discussion to base on. So, any other comments? If not, then AOB, anything?
Other business? No other business. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you.